Okay. So I'll start. I think most people who could make it have already joined. So I suppose most of you have read this article. And right in the beginning, I want to make clear the difference between, let me just share my screen. So this is the Bird Count India article, which has all the details of the process to be followed. And I'll just make it clear what the difference between patch birding and patch monitoring is. So patch birding is something that many of us have been doing over the years. We have been, we have a local area, local interesting place to visit for birding near our houses, and we visit that place often and often make checklists that document what we have in that place. But what happens during patch birding is that all of the protocols that we follow are highly varied. One day I might make a checklist that is 20 minutes long. Another day I might make a checklist that is 1 hour long. Sometimes I might watch birds for the full day in that area and make a checklist that is for the full day. In terms of the habitats that we visit, my local patch is this campus habitat, this campus near my house, and that campus has everything from farmland to forest patches to thorny scrub. So different days I might feel like visiting different of these spots, different spots. So what happens in such a case is that during this unsystematic patch birding, it becomes very difficult to draw any kind of conclusions over the long term. So in this patch monitoring project, it's basically patch birding with extremely rigid set protocols, right? So I cannot on one day make a checklist in the morning and the next day make a checklist in the afternoon. So that becomes then difficult uh, to make draw any kind of inferences from. So it's extremely important to follow these protocols for this project. So I think we're at a stage now where people are familiar enough with the concept, familiar enough with the advantages of systematic monitoring that such a project can actually be successful. And thanks to all of you for uh, joining in. Okay, so I'll start off with the protocol. This most of you have registered have either selected a terrestrial habitat or a wetland habitat or a wetland patch. So this terrestrial, the difference between a terrestrial patch and a wetland patch is that in a wetland patch, it's all about the numbers that are there, numbers of waterfowl, numbers of waders. Often what you see in 10 minutes is likely to be not so dissimilar from what you see in 20 minutes because you're counting the numbers. So in a wetland patch, if your patch is entirely a wetland, the way you would monitor it is either once in a week or once in 2 weeks. You would walk the entire length of your patch. You select a track and walk the entire length of your patch and document everything that is there. But in a terrestrial patch, you'd want shorter lists. You want something that helps you understand differences in how likely it is for a species to be encountered. Which is why the protocol here is to make 15-minute checklists in a terrestrial patch. Your 15-minute checklist can be across multiple habitats, but each habitat, it's best if you make a separate checklist. So in my patch, this campus, GKVK campus, uh, one day I might make one 15-minute checklist in a forest in forest habitat, and I might make a second 15-minute checklist during the same day in an agriculture in a farmland habitat, say. So I made these two checklists. Now what is required in a project of this sort to be systematic is the next time you do patch monitoring, you make you do exactly the same thing. You make a checklist in forest habitat, you make one checklist in farmland habitat. You might have a mixed habitat zone in your patch, so then you make a third checklist if you want in that mixed habitat. But each one, whatever you do during week 1 should be the same in week 3, should be the same in week 5, assuming your frequency is once in 2 weeks. If your frequency is once in a week, you do exactly the same thing in week 1, week 2, week 3, and so on. If you do happen to miss a week or a fortnight, it's not a problem. As mentioned here, you just skip that week or fortnight and continue the same set of lists in the next iteration when it's possible for you. Is that clear to everyone? Yeah, and if you have any questions,
Yes, yes,
go
yes,
ahead and ask.
yes. Okay.
Yeah. Uh, about time. Now, many of you have participated in the Kerala Bird Atlas or some other atlases. You would have noticed that one very important thing about these projects, again, which hope to be systematic, is the time of birding. You'd want to watch birds during the morning ideally, or during the evening, and not at any time, because then it becomes difficult to compare. If you on 1 week you make a checklist at 6:30 in the morning, and the next 3 weeks you do make a checklist in the afternoon, these are going to be very difficult to compare. So if you're going to be monitoring your patch in the morning, make sure that over the next months and years, do your monitoring in the morning. If you're going to be monitoring your patch in the evening, make sure you monitor your patch in the evening. And there shouldn't be a mix. One day in the morning, the next week in the evening. It should be either entirely in the morning or entirely in the evening. Is that clear? In the morning before 10 a.m. if possible, in the evening after 3:30 p.m. There are times when there might be cases where you're busy after 3:30, you want to do something at 2:30 or 3 o'clock. That is fine. But this should be the exception rather than the rule. Okay, so this is a very important part of it. Some checklists that have already been uploaded, already been coming in by patch monitorers are a bit here and there. They're a bit mixed. There's one in the morning, one in the afternoon, etc. from the same person. This is just a reminder to make sure that you remain completely consistent. Okay. Now, um, as I said, in your terrestrial patch, you'd want to make at least 4 15-minute checklists. Some of these might be in the same habitat. So if you want to make 3 checklists in forest and 1 checklist in farmland, try and stick to that week after week. 3 checklists in forest, 1 checklist in farmland. So decide on some sort of frequency of each type of habitat and try and stick to that. Try and keep all of these habitats along a single track. So let's say you're walking, you have a circular route around your patch. At different points along your track, there are different habitats coming in. Now, each habitat over there that you want to monitor, give it a separate name. Make it a personal location with a name that has this formula, right? So if your patch is Jakur Lake, right, which is a wetland, in that case, all you need to do is name it like this. A reminder, do not upload any of your patch monitoring lists to a hotspot. And initially, the protocol mentioned uploading it to a hotspot and creating a hotspot, but feedback from birders has changed this, where the problem is that if you upload it to a hotspot, it is very difficult for you to view any kind of to isolate your checklist from that. So if you want to find out exactly what is happening in your patch, on your patch monitoring, it's better to upload everything to a personal location. And each personal location should be named in the manner that is specified in this article. Ramesh?
Yeah, so previous checklist I have attached to the hotspot. So now what should I do to rectify it
So now once you make your personal location
next
as
time?
specified, you can just change the location of your previous checklist.
Okay, okay, fine.
Yeah.
Thank
And if
you.
any of you have doubts about how to change the location, etc., I'm sure many of you know how to do that. But in case there is a doubt, feel free to ask on any of the groups or to message me or Mittal or anyone from BirdCount India directly, and we can help you with how to change a location. And
Sir, this is Lakshmi. Sir, in my personal location, which I am actually uploading quite consistently on the same time of the same day, in that, sir, a railway track actually divides the personal location into marsh area and the lake. Sir. So, do we have to upload 2 checklists or one, sir? Because all this time, around 78 checklists, I have uploaded only single checklist, sir. Should I divide it into a marsh area and the lake, or the one is enough, sir?
uh, It depends. So if this is a wetland, if you're always able to see the wetland birds, then it's maybe better to keep it as a single
Usually,
location.
that's what the railway track actually cuts it to marsh and the lake, sir. So in the marsh side, we can see the waders, sir, and then the lake side, we can see the ducks and everything, sir. So
Okay.
they don't usually mix. So should I create two checklists or only one?
One is fine. It can be a wetland, and you can make one checklist every week or 2 weeks, however whatever
Okay, sir. So
frequency.
actually, the frequency is alternate day. Should I change it or like same day?
You can do that, but the problem with alternate days is it's very difficult to maintain. If you have some pressing matter that comes at some point, that frequency can
Yeah.
easily be broken. So I suggest you keep it
Okay.
to a week at a time. You continue making
Okay.
checklists, but you need not upload it
Okay.
to that particular personal location which you're using for patch monitoring.
Okay, sir. Okay.
Okay, so you can otherwise upload it to a hotspot, any other location name, but just maintain a particular location for your patch monitoring project list. Yes, Dr. Badri, yeah, you've raised your hand.
As I understand, stationary checklists are not accepted, is it? Am I right?
No, you
Stationary
can.
protocol cannot be followed.
Yes, you can follow. You can make a stationary checklist as well, but it is not recommended.
Okay.
Yeah, it will still be accepted. It's still okay,
Okay.
but it's not recommended. Yeah, in that it's a
Okay,
little better
the
if you
reason why
walk.
I'm asking that.
Mhm.
Okay. Reason why I'm asking that is all along my that particular location that I had shared in my document where from the rooftop. So it is a rooftop birding which I've been doing past 1 year.
Okay.
So I thought I will continue the same thing for my patch birding. So just something that was a stationary protocol being followed in that list.
Okay.
So advisable to walk. So okay, I'll do that.
No. So thanks for that
Sure.
question.
Thank
So
you.
that's a really good question, and something that others have also asked me in these past few weeks. That yes, if you're making rooftop checklist, that is perfectly fine. That can be your patch, and that is a special
Okay.
case where stationary checklist, your terrace or backyard. In such a case, stationary checklists are perfectly fine, and you can continue that as your patch monitoring checklist. No, that is
Okay.
perfectly fine. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Excuse me, sir. Excuse me, sir. But in the the details which was given in the bird count post, sir, that it shouldn't be from home, no, sir. It shouldn't be from home. It was actually in the bold that the checklist should not be uploaded from the no where we stay, sir. Home we should not upload. It should be somewhere near some bit like.
Not really. In case that was there, then this has changed based on people's feedback. So some people want to continue monitoring their home areas, including their locality, including their houses, and that is fine. So if you are making rooftop checklists and you want to keep that as your patch, if you want to continue doing that, so remember that this is during COVID times. A rooftop checklist might be something you want to do regularly. You might want to monitor that. But in case you want to, you have another patch of interest, then maybe it's better to register that patch, which is somewhere away. But those who want to do it from their houses, please go ahead. This is the new protocol. Make sure that you monitor that patch through this period. Amrit.
Yeah, hello.
Hi,
Arjun ji,
Amrit.
hello.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm asking for that as I have my professional experiences are there. I have to travel from uh, island to island as I'm in Andaman Nicobar Island. And how could it be manageable that I just have hotspot patch near my house. How could I manage that for long time? As
So,
of now, according to my professional
mm,
duties and all, I have to travel.
yes, so that is a problem, and for people who travel a lot, sadly, patch monitoring is a very difficult project to participate in. So even for me, I do travel a lot, and because of that, I haven't registered a patch myself yet. So once it's clear, once I know what my schedules are, I can maybe participate in such a project. But it's a little difficult if you travel for large periods of time. So that's why we've kept it at 2 weeks. If you're traveling for a week or 2 weeks at a time, it's perfectly fine. But if you're going to travel for many months at a time, or a month or 2 months, then it's difficult to participate in this project, and it's perfectly fine. There are great advantages to exploration as well. So it's a different kind of monitoring, which is equally valuable. And in such a case, I suggest that you do not participate in the project because you will not be able to make these regular checklists. But during a time, let's say that you are based in an island for, let's say, 6 months or a year at a time, then you can register the patch near where you're staying on the island and you can monitor that patch for an extended period. So I hope that
Okay,
clarified
okay.
your question.
I could attend it for a long of 6 months on. Uh-huh.
Yes, you can.
Okay,
Yes.
okay, that will be fine. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Samakshi?
Hi, Ashwin.
Hi.
Ashwin, I just wanted to ask, could you explain a bit as to why stationary checklists are not recommended? Why are we focusing more on traveling protocol rather than stationary?
The main reason is a traveling list is likely to give you a great better representation of that area. Stationary, based on the location you have chosen, based on the point you have chosen to stand at, can mean that you miss out on some representation of the birds in that habitat or patch. And given that there may not be, it's difficult to standardize where you're standing, etc. So in such a case, it's better that you walk a small amount, better that you walk just 100 meters, 200 meters, just to make sure that you have better visibility, you manage to see everything. But in case you do want to have a stationary count, it is fine. But there
Okay.
is the chance that there is something that might be missed out. If it's a rooftop or backyard, etc., there's no problem at all. You can make a stationary list. But if you have a patch, if you have a larger patch that where you have a track that you've chosen that you're going to at different points make checklists, it's better that you at least walk 100 or 200 meters or maybe a little more while making that 15-minute checklist in a terrestrial habitat.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yes. Yeah. Samakshi, did you have a second part to the question?
No. I was just saying thanks.
Okay. Yeah. Rohan, Prabhu?
Yeah, I want to ask which protocol should we follow in case of it is if the patch has a mixed habitat, a bit of terrestrial and bit of wetland, or we should divide the area if that is inconvenient.
So you can, if it has a bit of terrestrial and a bit of wetland, you can keep it as either. But based on what you keep it as, make sure you follow the protocol. If you have registered it as a terrestrial patch, make sure that you make at least 4 15-minute checklists every time you monitor the patch. If you have registered it as a wetland patch, you can keep it to a single count uh, periodically repeated in that patch. So you have the flexibility here to choose whichever one you want.
Okay, understood. Thanks, Ashwin.
Yeah, but if you have this mixed habitat and you're making it a terrestrial patch, and every single checklist is going to be in this mixed habitat, ensure that your habitat that you see over here, so you see terrestrial, the way you name your checklist, GKVK
Okay,
campus, terrestrial, cultivation, PMP would be the last one. It would be mixed. So in each case, you're going to have it as mixed.
okay,
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah. Okay. Others, Ramesh has had his hand raised for a while. Ramesh?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So what my doubt is,
So I'm doing my patch is terrestrial patch, okay?
Yeah.
But it's not that big that I can make 4 different trails to make 15 minutes different checklist. So how do I do my checklist in that case?
You can make 4 15-minute checklists along the same in the same period. I mean, in
Same
the
path.
same path.
I mean, I can continue same trail for 4 times.
Yes, exactly. You can just up down should
Okay.
be yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank
15
you.
minutes each should be fine. So this is yeah. So you can make even more than 4 in the same along the same small path even. This
Okay.
is yeah. But the only thing is to keep this consistent between weeks and
Okay.
2 weeks. Yeah.
Understood. Understood. Thank you.
If it is small area, more chances of seeing the same birds, no, sir. Again and again, like if it is a small path and up and down, 15 minutes means we can hardly it would have moved that much, no, sir.
So
Even
that's
if
a
it is a
great
flickering,
question. So here it's not about seeing new birds. So patch monitoring is about, it's all about doing the same thing again and again. Every time you visit, every 15-minute checklist you make, you see that things are not exactly the same. You might have the numbers of some bird that are slightly different. You might have certain species that appear in some of them that do not appear in some of them. So with this, you get an idea of the rate of reporting of each species. And this is the fundamental, this is the most important thing in patch monitoring. Every checklist that you make has some slight difference. Now, if you make 10 checklists that are 15 minutes in exactly the same path, what you're going to find is in 9 out of 10 of them, you're going to have common minor. But in the 10th one, you may not have it.
But it will be a duplicate, no, sir. It can be a duplicate problem. I mean,
So
like
these are
in the
not
sense
duplicates. So these are all called temporal replicates. So you're replicating your effort again and again to get a better idea of what is happening. So what you do over even over multiple weeks is exactly the same thing. You are replicating exactly the same bit of effort to get better
no, sir.
information
That's the
about what is
duration is
happening.
like 2. The duration is for 2 weeks difference, no, sir. So if we go and again and the same patch, there will be 2 weeks difference. Some birds might have migrated, some might have come in. There is a lot of variations. But when the small part, we are going up and down, then we are taking 15 minutes checklist. Won't the data have a lot of duplicacy and might affect the data sets?
Not at all. That is exactly what is required. And I will maybe so I'll share I'll share some more information on some of the groups as to why it's important to replicate again and again, even at the same time, and how that gives better information than not replicating. So I'll explain that offline on the group, or online rather on the group.
Okay, sir.
Yeah.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Yeah. So Badri.
Just another doubt that I have. I understand it has to be a complete list and not a incomplete one. But in a terrestrial habitat, for example, in my rooftop birding, if I am trying to find out which birds come to my garden for that matter, and exclude all those which are flying above, then it will be an incomplete list. At the same time, that will have more importance as far as the habitat is concerned. Can that be considered, or you want only a complete list only?
So all lists should be complete. So that is important. So if there are birds flying over your house that you see, make sure that you include them in the list. But also, if it is a bird of a different habitat, you can use the breeding code flyover. And with that, we can have we can filter out easily to find out exactly what is going on with the birds that are actually there in your location.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if it's not complete, many of the analysis become difficult. So then it becomes difficult to find out. Yeah.
Ashwin, there is a question.
Thank you.
Why wetlands a single checklist and other 15 minutes?
Okay. So in a wetland, so this goes back to the discussion we were having a few minutes back about why you need repeated sampling in a place. So in a wetland, because most birds are there in exactly the same place, and there isn't a problem of detection. So in a wetland, you see whatever there is to see effectively. But in a terrestrial patch, because you have a wooded area or things moving in the grass or in scrub, you have lower detection in a terrestrial patch. So in a wetland, if you repeat the same thing again and again, if you have 50 painted stocks sitting in a tree, you're going to have those 50 painted stocks sitting in the tree in the next checklist. If you have 100 black-tailed godwits sitting in the water, it's very likely that in your next iteration, you again are going to have those 100 black-tailed godwits. So repeated sampling at that moment is not so important. So in a wetland, it's better to have a single count to get an idea of total numbers. And in a terrestrial patch, you have multiple checklists to get a better idea about detectability, about how likely it is to see a bird. So somebody's, people who are not talking, mute their microphones. Yeah. Okay, I hope that answers the question.
Yes, and one last question, Ashwin. Why, wait, just a minute. What is the minimum size for a wetland patch?
There is no minimum size. It can be anything from, it can be a tiny lake near your house, say, which takes you 20 minutes to walk around. That can be a wetland patch. There's no problem. It just shouldn't be it shouldn't be a pond like or a well or something like that, which cannot hold wetland birds. As long as it can hold wetland birds, it can be a wetland patch. So this is subjective, but I'm sure all of you have the experience to take that decision. Yeah, so can I upload 2 checklists in the morning and 2 checklists, 2 in the evening once a week? Yes, that's perfectly fine. But make sure that you follow exactly that week after week. 2 in the morning, 2 in the evening. So you should do what is possible for you in the coming days. Some people wrote to me saying that they can only do it in the evening, which makes sense. So for some people, it's easier to find time in the evening. For some people in the morning. For people who can find time during both periods once a week, then that is perfectly fine. You can make 2 in the morning, 2 in the evening. And that would be great, actually. That would give a much more rounded picture of what is going on. Vishnu,
what would
please?
be the minimum? Okay.
Yeah. Ashwin, 2 doubts. One thing is that this frequency, suppose they once in 2 weeks is the frequency which I adopt. So say I do that on alternate Sundays.
Yeah.
By some reason, if I can't do it on one particular Sunday, can I do it on Monday at the same time?
Yes.
That's possible.
Yes, that's possible.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, just, like if somebody has a week-long, say a week's frequency, then it probably shouldn't be. For example, if somebody cannot do it on a Sunday and does it on a Monday or a Tuesday, then the next list ideally should not be on a Thursday or Friday. There should be maybe at least 4-5 days gap. And in your case, if it's a 2-week frequency, then maybe keep the gap to within maybe 12 and 16 days before you do it. But I mean, if ideally it should be at exact intervals, but even if there's plus or minus 2 days, it's perfectly fine.
Perfectly fine. Yeah. One more question: this wetland, if my match is wetland, I'm supposed to upload only single checklist, but the duration is 1 hour. Okay, or it can be less than 1 hour or something like that. For terrestrial habitat, you say that 15 minutes for checklist traveling protocol.
Yes.
Wetland only single checklist, but what is the duration? Should I work 1 hour or?
No, the duration can be whatever it takes for you to cover the wetland.
Okay.
Or to cover whatever part of the wetland you want to cover consistently. So
Yeah,
it can be anything from half an hour to 2 hours or 3 hours based on what you'd like it to be.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Atri?
Yeah. So my question is very simple. Actually, we are talking of a complete checklist. Sometimes when we are busy identifying some bird, we miss something. So will it be an incomplete then?
No, that will still be complete. It's about reporting all the birds that you manage to identify. So sometimes if you take a lot of time to identify a particular species and you don't look at some others, then it's just that you haven't, you are still reporting everything that you have managed to identify. So that is that is what a complete list is. So say you happen to see a crow or a myna, or say you're making a terrestrial checklist and you have something like a cormorant fly over your head. Now, if you do not include that cormorant, because although you've identified it as a cormorant, it would be an incomplete checklist. So in such a case, you'd still have to include that cormorant, but you include the breeding code flyover.
Okay.
So it's okay. You
So
can take as much time as required to identify a bird and make every effort to identify it, and it will still be complete.
One question related to that. Sometimes, see, birds are not stationary objects, so they are flying around. So sometimes in my patch, by the time I go to a other part, circular path anyway. So anything can go again on that path, and I can count it twice. I don't know how to take care of that issue.
So that's a great question, and thanks for asking it. That is one of the main reasons why many reasons why checklists are limited to 15 minutes in a terrestrial patch. In a wetland, in a wetland patch, because you have a greater field of view, and at most points of time you can see everything that is going on, you'd get a good idea of whether new birds have come or they haven't come. But in a terrestrial patch, it's very difficult to know whether something is new or not. That is why you try and keep these time limits short so that your chance of double counting reduces. Even if 1 hour later you make you come to your fourth checklist and you've come back to the same area, let's say, then it is okay. Even if it's the same bird or new bird, it's fine because it's a new checklist.
The same checklist I'm worried about. When it's a different checklist, obviously it's something different.
Yeah.
And can you tell me some reference where from I can learn about the breeding codes? Actually, I'm from a different background. So like, how can I, because nowadays I'm not reporting things because I'm trying to learn more things. I mean, that thing is gone now. I'm trying to be.
So if you look at the Bird Count India article, you will see one section that's called breeding codes at the bottom. If you're all still able to see my screen, there is a section that's called breeding codes, and there are two really nice articles that are linked about breeding codes.
Okay.
I think one will be a webinar. Yeah, check those out. Those are really, really good resources to find out more.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks a lot. I will try to do things as is required.
Okay.
Ashwin.
Yeah.
Also tell her to check the video of the session on breeding codes which we had recently on YouTube.
Yeah, good idea. Mithal has shared the link.
In the YouTube, I go and search. That's it.
Now, Mithal has shared the link in the Zoom chat, so you can take a look at that.
Okay.
Thanks, Ramesh. Yeah. Then Samakshi.
Yeah, Ashwin, I just wanted to ask. So I am currently in a campus. And there are multiple playing fields over here, like a football field, a hockey field, but they are divided by buildings. So there is one field, then there's a building, and then there's another field. So is it fine if I give a different personal location to these two different grounds and maintain uploading regular checklists at both the areas, or they're actually too close? That is just what I'm worried about.
It's fine. You can maintain two different checklists if you like. I mean, two different locations if you like. Yeah.
So I can name them as Scrubland, like open area 1 and open area 2, and just maintain that. That's fine.
Yes, you can. But if both the habitats, if there's no real difference between the habitats, then it depends upon what you want to do here. If I was in your place, I might have named them both the personal locations as open areas or open fields. So open fields then would be a habitat which I monitor, whichever open field it is. So you might have maybe 6 or 7 open fields. All of them would go into that habitat. So you could do that.
Okay. So or maybe initially I can maintain them as open field 1 and 2, and later on change the location name.
That is a possibility. Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes. So yeah, I hope Harish has also asked us a similar question. I hope it's answered. That a habitat, the naming it by habitat has the advantage of you making multiple checklists. I mean, going to multiple instances of that habitat within your patch and uploading it to the same location. You might have in your patch, you might have 3 different scrub forest locations or 3 different forest locations. Now, checklists made in each of these forest locations can be uploaded to the same personal location, which is the name of your patch, habitat being forest, and PMP. So is that clear? But if you want to monitor them separately, you're welcome to do that as well. Yeah. Pranay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hi, Ashwin.
Hi.
I have been uploading regular checklists for the last 6 months from 3 different locations.
Okay.
So one is from my rooftop, which is a stationary protocol, which is a more frequent, source of my checklist because it's on my rooftop.
Okay.
So almost on a daily basis, or at least alternate days.
Okay.
The other is on our farm and on the way to the farm, which is both are traveling protocols again.
Okay.
So which is more convenient to register, like in the sense of to analyze it in a better way? One is traveling. I've been recording birds while we travel on the road through the car from the exact point, and there's an end point and a start point.
Okay.
But it's an hour-long track, and I don't split it into multiple lists. I just keep it as one list, like.
Okay.
So that has been fairly regular. So how do I register that if I had to?
So if you do register that as a patch for patch monitoring, then you would need to make 15-minute, because it's a terrestrial patch. You would have to make 15-minute checklist and walk. So it cannot be made from the car, because then your detection from a car reduces considerably. So to make
sure.
Yeah. So you can register that as your patch, but when you walk along that track and you make checklists, you ensure that they're 15 minutes long only.
Yeah, walking is not a possibility because I'm traveling to a certain area and I'm recording birds while I'm traveling. So walking.
Okay, so then I suggest that you limit your patch to your rooftop.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. Subramanian, Shankar, yeah.
Yeah, Ashwin. See, my question is whether real-time list is to be made in the eBird app. As you do birding, you keep it on and you just add the birds, or you can come back home and do it.
You can come back home and do it as well, but the advantage of making it real time is that you actually track your path. So eventually they can both give you information on the tracks that you've been following, and for analysis you end up getting a centroid for that walk.
Okay.
Yeah. So there are advantages to doing it real time, which is mainly tracking.
Mainly for the GPS tracks.
Mainly for the GPS tracking. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
And to answer Harish's question before we go on, which is about it being a single track, whether everything should come along a single track. The advantage of everything coming along a single large track is that it's easy to be consistent in that case. Say my usual track goes from, it starts in forest, it goes to agriculture, it passes through more agriculture, goes through scrub and goes back to forest. Let's say it's a circle. Then it makes it easy for me every time to do the same thing. I make my 4 checklists: first one in forest, second one in agriculture, third one in agriculture, and fourth one in back in forest. But now if I want to make, if I end up going to different locations within that, not following a consistent track, then it becomes more likely to do the sort of monitoring that becomes difficult to sustain. So that's the main reason why a single large track is recommended, where you walk along this and make multiple checklists. So I suggest it's better to do that. In Samakshi's case, where she has one football field and another football field, the way to do this will be to basically you start off in a football field, you make your checklist, and you walk along, go to the other football field or other field, and you make your next checklist. So that way you're still sticking to a path which you're following every time, but you're making multiple checklists along that path. So that is just a way to be consistent, to be able to remain consistent within a patch. Sometimes you might want to drive from point to point. That is also fine. You have a route. You make a checklist in one part of your patch, and then you drive to the other part of your patch and you make the other checklist. But what you're doing is you're following the same protocol every time. That's it.
Sir, can we upload the medias and also if you have a photograph or if you have an
Yes,
audio
you can. You can treat it like
can it
any
be
other
put in
checklist.
the
Yeah, you can treat it like any other checklist. You can do everything else you want to that checklist. And it's
any minimum
recommended.
duration, sir?
Sorry.
Any minimum duration just to have some meaningful data out of it, sir?
No,
like
so it
what?
has to be exactly 15 minutes for a terrestrial.
No, sir, not that, sir. Not that, sir. The duration of the being part of the project, sir. I'm saying if the project if it has to run 6 months, yeah, that's what I'm saying. If it has to be minimum years or months to start forming some coherent data.
So good question. This goes along with some other questions also asked. That what if you're moving to another place after 6 months or after some period? 6 months is a very good duration to monitor a patch. But ideally, if it's just for a month or 2 months, then there's no point. But 6 months is still okay. But ideally, what we all want to do, what we all want to get into now is to monitor it for the long term, so that 3 or 4 years down the line, we'll be able to look at all this information and say, okay, is the species declining? Is the species increasing? What is going on in my patch? And through this, we get insights that have meaning for, say, your entire district or state or the country as a whole, through monitoring these small patches over long time periods. So although I would say there is still merit to monitor something for 6 months, it is better if you choose a patch which you can monitor for the true long term, which is over a few years. Yeah. Ramesh?
Yeah. So there is one more patch I regularly bird at, but I haven't registered it because nature of the patch changes according to the season. Like usually in summers and all, it is like proper grassland and some part is like scrub like. But in this season, it will kind of become wetland. So how do I deal with it? I mean, I won't be able to access those trails also in this season, which I regularly do otherwise.
Okay. In that case, so again, yeah, these are really interesting cases. In this case, I suggest you stick to a part, you keep your trail, you limit your trail to a part which you can somewhat monitor in all seasons. And in case there is a situation where you cannot walk along some paths during certain seasons, then what you can do is you can have either stationary lists or very short walking paths along this larger trail. But
okay,
good to keep that consistent over time.
So if I start now, I will get a good idea of accessible patches throughout the year.
Yes,
because
exactly.
this is the time when it is not accessible everywhere in that patch.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. Chinmay? Yeah. So has uploading videos been open for all? So this I'll answer it. So no, not yet. It's still in the trial period. But if you want to upload videos in your patch monitoring checklist, go ahead. It's fine. And yeah.
Yeah, Ashwin, I just wanted to ask one more thing. Like we had discussed about a vulture site in Bhopal, which has been totally destroyed by the bird photographers. So you mentioned that you hide the checklist for 3 months, but then after 3 months, the same problem will happen again.
Okay.
So what is the solution?
So you can hide it for even longer periods. So let's say that you have a very sensitive location, as in your case, where if you start making checklists, there'll be people coming, it will draw unwanted attention, but still you want to monitor that patch so that you can find out with these tools what happens in the long term. So this might be something that a question that many people have. What you can do in such a case is that you can do your normal birding and upload it to eBird, upload it to public locations. But for this particular sensitive patch, you can hide every single checklist. What you can maybe do is after 2 or 3 years, say when you've been regularly monitoring it for 2 or 3 years, you've been hiding these checklists, but you've been monitoring it for 2 or 3 years. After 2 or 3 years, you can maybe make it public. You can maybe unhide these checklists. And then what can happen is that you can download that data, and then you can monitor, you can find out how things have changed in your patch over the long term. So that is you can even do from, as I said, it need not be 3 months, it can even be 2 or 3 years. But this should only be done if the patch is very sensitive, as in your case. In most cases, because people are not monitoring nesting sites, etc., it should be fine.
Okay, my reason for asking then, since I will be leaving this area for after 6 months permanently, I can take use of some other birder also, make a patch and do the same thing, monitor for 2-3 years. And because it's a particular vulture site where, right next to my house, where the breeding have been observing for the last 3-4 months now of vultures.
Okay, so if so in such a case, I suggest that this other person who's going to monitor it does it separately as their own patch monitoring, because
no, but problem is quite far from Bhopal, so nobody will be able to monitor it regularly.
Okay, that's unfortunate. Hopefully, there'll be somebody else who comes along who can do that.
I'll try to encourage someone to do it.
Okay, okay, let's hope. Yeah. Group accounts, no. Ideally, group accounts should not register. It should be individuals, because a patch is best monitored by individuals. And if different people start monitoring a single patch that is registered, say, to one person, then again it becomes very difficult to remain consistent over time, because the birds that I'm likely to see are likely to be different from the birds somebody else is likely to see. Because of individual detectabilities, individual variation in birders. I might, if I'm walking in a wetland, I might look more at the warblers than at the waterfowl. So you have these small differences in birder behavior that if the same person is monitoring the same patch over time, these differences are negated, because it's the same person doing it. So you can easily draw inferences. Now, the moment different people start doing the same thing, these differences come in. And then this consistency of patch monitoring goes out of the way. So it's very important for the same person, for an individual, to monitor a patch. I hope that answered the question. Yeah. And yeah.
Ashwin?
Yeah.
Lakshmi has a question saying that she has uploaded several checklists under this project and has mentioned as patch monitoring. How can that be included too?
So that will be included now after this webinar, where everybody gets to understand the protocols better. After this webinar, all the past checklists that have been shared with this ID, which have followed the protocol, will be accepted. So those that have not followed the protocols discussed exactly will not be accepted. This is to be able to so that you can manage your patch better in the future. Yeah. Samakshi?
I think somebody might have asked this, but I just wanted to reconfirm. So if you're on a very small trail and you have to monitor it for 15 minutes, but so you can walk the trail multiple times, right, in that 15-minute duration?
Yes, you can. Yes, you can. Yeah. Okay. No worries. Just as I said before, make sure that this remains consistent. That's it. That another time let's say you walk the trail, you walk the trail a couple of times, and the third time it's better if you continue walking the trail multiple times rather than making a stationary checklist, for example.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. I'll just go back to considering we have a small period where there's no question. Okay, Vyom is asking, can the checklist still be accepted if it is shared by another person in the same location? So no, now remember that the location is personal. Do not upload any checklist to a hotspot for patch monitoring. If an individual is using a personal location, make sure that that personal location is used only by that individual for their patch monitoring. Right? If another person is monitoring exactly the same patch and exactly the same trail, then that is a special case. I'm not sure whether that's going to happen, but if it does happen, right, then try and make that personal location unique in some way, and that you upload to a personal location you have created, not that somebody else has created. Is that clear? Someone has asked how to create a personal location. Every checklist that you make on the app, and when you try to upload it, there will be an option that says create new personal location. So any location that you create is a personal location. Any location that somebody else has created is that is a public location that people can choose, is a hotspot. So hotspots have great advantages in that you can look at summaries, you can look at illustrated checklists, etc. But at the same time, a hotspot will begin to include a lot of information that is not your own. So then it becomes difficult for you to find out what you yourself have learned from your patch monitoring initiative. So every checklist should be uploaded to a personal location. Samakshi?
There was nothing. I just forgot to lower the hand.
Okay. Yes, the session is being recorded, so you can, it'll be shared. I have named a part of hotspot which isn't frequented. Can this be used? So hotspot you can make a personal location also on a hotspot. Just because something is a hotspot doesn't mean you can have multiple personal locations of your own there. So you can, as long as you have created that location and you have not suggested it as a hotspot, you can continue to use that location, even if it is located within a hotspot. So that's no problem at all. Yeah. And I just want to stress on one or two things now that there are no questions for the next 5 minutes. We should stop at 8 o'clock. I'm sure all of you have things to do. So make sure that you adhere to the naming protocols, because this is going to make it far easier to monitor and sustain in the long term, even for you. And then mistakes will reduce if you have mentioned the name of the habitat, you have mentioned the name of the location, and you have created a personal location. So make sure that your locations are appropriately named, right? Do not assign checklist to a hotspot. Create a new personal location for each habitat which you monitor. Make sure that once you've created a personal location for a habitat in your patch, use exactly that personal location every time for that habitat in your patch. Right? And go through the rest of the article. We have multiple groups where we can continue this, multiple social media groups where we can continue this discussion. And as mentioned, there will be a leaderboard in place, which will now be maintained after this workshop, there's no focus on species at all. The only focus in this leaderboard is the consistency of reporting. So that is going to be the only measure which all of us are going to look at. So this is just to help everyone understand who's monitoring patches, how many patches how many times have these patches been monitored, etc. So that we get an idea of what's happening across the country. I mentioned, somebody mentioned, what is the advantage of making checklists real time? All the tracks that you make when you're uploading checklists here can be downloaded as KMLs by going to this link, which will tell you how you can download these patches as KMLs, which can then be overlaid on a map, and then you can do you can have interesting visualizations, interesting insights that are drawn from that. And I'll leave you here. It's almost 8 o'clock. Unless there are any pressing questions, do register. Those who haven't registered your patches, or those who have registered your patches perhaps with the wrong with information that is now going to change based on your understanding of the protocols, fill up the form again. Fill up the form for the first time based on where you stand, and register it with the correct naming protocol. And that's about it. The session is recorded, so if you can look at all the questions answered, etc. at your leisure later.
Sir, 1 minute, sir. So sorry to break in, but can you just repeat the last point again, sir, about renaming the proper protocol? I didn't understand that, sir. I couldn't get it because of network.
Okay. So there's a clear naming protocol which is mentioned here. So if you can see my screen, you see that it's
yes, sir.
in this way. Now let's say that you've already say you've registered a patch with the wrong name or in a habitat, in a hotspot or something like that, and you shared that checklist link, maybe you'd want to re-register your patch with the correct name again.
Okay.
Right?
Register link, sir. I lost the link. Is
It's
the link
there. It's
available
there
in
in
the?
the article. It's there in the article.
Okay.
Yeah, register under your registration.
Can't we go and edit the name of it, sir? Like even if it in the descriptions, every checklist which I have around 9 to 10 checklists, sir, which I have uploaded under this project.
You
can I go
can.
and change the description? I mean the comment section of it, sir. Like the checklist comment will be there now.
Yes, yes.
Can I change it?
You can change all of this. Yeah.
Okay, sir.
You can. Yeah. And there are a few more questions. Other than PMP1, yeah, you not for the same location. So important question. I wish I had addressed it during the meeting when everyone was present. But please do not upload regular checklists to the patch monitoring locations. Your patch monitoring locations are only for patch monitoring checklists. So try and keep it at that.
Patch monitoring checklists have to be shared with the ID given, patch monitoring, and also the comments you need to add in the comments that is patch monitoring. Yeah. And if you're doing any other checklist from the same location which are not part of the project, you don't need to share it with the patch monitoring.
Yeah. I also suggest you don't make other checklists in that same location. Use the hotspots for your regular birding, or use your regular personal locations for the regular birding. All of these, sharing it to patch monitoring, putting patch monitoring comments, etc., are checks and balances to ensure that the right checklists are being accepted to the patch monitoring ID. That is it. So I hope that clarifies all questions now, and look forward to successful.
Will there be future? Excuse me, sir. Will there be future webinar or some session on the one which is KML one, laying it over a map? It sounds very exciting, sir.
There will be. Let the project successfully commence, and hopefully everyone starts following the protocol, and we start getting our first insights in, and then we'll have another session where we can do more with this information. Until then, all of you, a reminder about the data analysis workshops, and if any of you are interested in data analysis, please register for those workshops. And pretty soon, once people have become familiar with analyzing eBird data, either through Excel or through R, we will take the patch monitoring data, your own patch monitoring data, and we will try and find out what it's saying through the tools and exercises that you've learned. Yeah, and I will just share the link in the chat here before everybody. So Mithal, do you have the link to that workshop? To the forms?
I just check, Ashwin.
Yeah.
Just give me a minute.
Yeah. So if you can just share it in chat, then.
Ashwin, till then, if I can just ask you, I just wanted to ask how to classify this kind of habitat. So one side there is a playground, and then there are a couple of buildings. Mm-hmm. But the trails that I'll be walking on are roads which have trees of neem on the sides. So how would you? So I'm walking on a road. There are these neem trees on the sides, and then on one side there are buildings, and on the other side there's a large football field. So how would you classify this habitat?
Okay, so this looks like a habitat. This looks like a mixed habitat. I would just call it mixed. Okay. Yeah, because you're going to be reporting a lot of birds that come to the neem trees, or say pigeons on buildings, etc. So yeah, mixed. So mixed is a.
I can mention the. Sorry. So I can mention in the brackets, right? Like built up and playground and something like that. We can add that, right? Mixed bracket may we mention built up playground.
Yes, you can. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks.
Okay, here are the links, and I'll share the transcript of the chat transcript, maybe, or at least the important parts. We can share it with all participants. But thank you for attending, and the link will be shared soon. Link to the recording. And happy birding, everybody, and look forward to a successful project. So I'll leave you here.
Thank you so much, Ashwin.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.